Let's take a look at the Southeast Division. The Charlotte Hornets, Washington Wizards, two top six teams. Let's recap the NBA draft. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and I know it's hard to imagine, but I was once a barefoot boy with a cheek of tan. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms, so give it a thumbs up, give it a double bang, leave your comments down below. Another draft recap show that I am recording in advance. You probably are well aware of that by listening to some of the other shows. I'm recording this on July the 1st, and we're recapping the Southeast Division in the NBA. We might as well just, should we just get straight into talking about the Southeast Division, another division with two very high picks, two top six picks. And remember, when I'm doing this NBA draft review, I'm just really looking at the draft picks. I'm not looking at free agency. I'm not looking at trades involved, because if I was, Atlanta's going to sit with an A+, right? That would be simple. They traded for that unprotected Pelicans Bucks pick, which is unbelievable value. They traded down from 13 to 23, and that's all they needed to do. They made, when we do off-season grades, that'll come later on, and we talk about the totality of what teams did, like trading for Porzingis without doing much, getting off of Terrence Mann, like all huge W's. In the draft, I think they were fine. They were pretty good. I gave them a B overall, the Atlanta Hawks. Now, the only draft pick they made was Asa Newell, who could have easily gone in the teens. He was apparently someone they were looking at pick number 13. He is he's not yet 20. He's 24 usage, power forward. He played 29 minutes a game for Georgia, so played locally, obviously. Rebounded the ball okay. Shot blocking, steals, not bad. You'd like a little bit better in terms of the shooting numbers, 29% from three, but overall field goals and free throws are okay. I think he can develop into not really a shooter, but at least a credible threat from out there. But as a rebounding, shot blocking, switching, small ball 5, power forward, fine. Now, obviously, the spots on this team with Okongwu, Porzingis, and Johnson, he's just not going to play. There's no minutes for him immediately. He'll get some G League time. He'll get fourth big minutes at best, even though Larry Nance is there, so maybe fifth big. Like, it's not going to be much there for Newell immediately. But I think he does have some interesting longer-term translation ability. Again, just taking players that you think are good and seeing where they fit. Like someone at pick 23 is probably just going to be a backup, and getting a backup to Jalen Johnson and Onyeka Okongwu. Porzingis obviously on the older side, a little bit different. It's important. So I like the pick. Very hard to criticize it. They signed a couple of two-ways, Elo John Ndiaye and Lamont Butler. Butler a point guard, Ndiaye a wing. Both solid enough. Nothing super spectacular there. And then Jalen Johnson's brother, Kobe Johnson, is signed to an Exhibit 10 deal. I thought there was a chance that Kobe could have been one of the three Kobes that was drafted. In the end, I think only two of them got drafted, Sanders and Breyer. I thought Kobe Johnson could have gone towards the end of the second round. I think he could have been a two-way guy. At the moment, he isn't, but we'll see. Bringing someone in like that, who's Jalen's brother, and just see what happens. An interesting signing that I liked. It doesn't sway their draft grade or anything like that, but he is there, Kobe Johnson, on an Exhibit 10. So overall, obviously, if we're including the trades that Atlanta's cooked this offseason, I think they're going to be, obviously, over-under stuff's not going to come until September, October. When I do that, I can see them being pushing 45, 50 wins. Top 4 in the East, maybe. We'll see what else happens. I'm very excited about where they go from here. And we'll see what else happens in free agency, which I don't know at this point. But their draft haul, just really solid, above average, B grade. I like what they did. Very hard for me to be angry about it or complaining about it. I don't think any Hawks fans would be either. And this is not something we say all that often, but if you're a Charlotte Hornets fan, I think you should be really happy as well. Now, I suppose in the past they've had moments with their draft classes where they've got excited and things haven't always worked out, but I love basically everything they did here. Basically. They got an A- for me with their draft class, and let's start with pick number 4, Kon Knueppel, the Areola. Knueppel fits nearly anywhere, right? He can play the 2 and the 3. He can pass, he can handle the ball, he can ramp up usage, he can scale down usage. I don't think he's a disaster defensive. I think he's fine, average. He's one of the best shooters in the draft. He fits with LaMelo. He fits with Brandon Miller. What more could you possibly want at pick number 4? Now, Ace Bailey, sure, you could have gone there. The idea of Ace Bailey and Brandon Miller together, not what I would have done, which they didn't. Cool. Tre Johnson could have worked as well, but I had Knueppel number 3. They picked him number 4. It's very hard for me to criticize that sort of a pick. So I think it's an incredibly good pick. Not only did they draft Knueppel, and they bring in like a Colin Sexton as well for a deal. Now, the only problem at the moment is their center spot, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But Knueppel, I think, will be draftable in redraft leagues. You know that I've got him high in dynasty leagues, top 4 in dynasty leagues. It's pretty straightforward to me. His ability to pass and steal and hit threes and score and just be a winning player and be someone who contributes in many areas and a incredibly reliable shooter who, again, is a better defender than you think he is, with decent size, 6'6". I love everything about Kon Knueppel, especially his name, in this setting, and I think that's a great move from Charlotte to be able to draft him there at pick 4, make what I think is the smart decision. At pick 29, which is one of the picks they got back for Mark Williams, they went with Liam McNeely. Now, if I was them, I would have gone with a center in that spot and said, okay, let's grab a center and see what we can do after we traded away Mark Williams. Now, that is mitigated because they got a center a couple of picks later. McNeely is someone that at times I had as a late lottery pick, around 14, 15, 16, that sort of an area. He did not shoot well for Connecticut last season, but I think he's going to be able to shoot just fine in the NBA. The size is great. He can play the 3. He can play next to Brandon Miller when they eventually get rid of Miles Bridges. I don't know that all that will happen or happen anytime soon. His rebounding is okay. Defensively, there are going to be some concerns with him. I'm not worried about that, but in terms of having shooting, important and high-level shooting is great. Like, having that around LaMelo and around Brandon Miller, I think is great. He's got good size. He's very young. It wasn't the greatest year for him at Connecticut, but I do think that getting Liam McNeely there at pick 29, that's incredible value. I would have taken him much earlier than that, so it's, again, not going to complain about it. That is a very strong pick to take Liam McNeely in that spot. Now, they had 4 top 34 picks. 2 of them were second-rounders. And I like what they did with both of these picks as well. It's easier to criticize Charlotte for just really staying and going local with a lot of stuff, and they did that with Sion James. Right? I don't think that drafting Sion James is only because he's local. Like, again, you've got already taken the areola from Duke as well. James is someone who can come in and is not ready-made, that's the wrong term, but often role players in the NBA are high-usage guys that scale down. James is not. He was a role player on a stacked college team and fit his role perfectly. I would love that if he took more threes, he hit him at 41%. I don't buy that he's that sort of a shooter. Although he did hit his free throws well as well. He is a defensive player who can move the ball, very similar to Knueppel. Again, it is a little bit of a different situation playing in Charlotte. Don't expect those assists for James to be anywhere close to that in the NBA. But he's got the size, he's got the defensive ability, there's inklings of shooting, and he doesn't need the ball to be useful. I'm not sure he's going to be a good fantasy player at all, but in terms of real-life contributions, I do like them going with Sion James at number 33. Again, I was still like, hey, can you guys, you don't have a center on this team, and at that point, they still had Yusuf Nurkic, which they do not anymore. But then they decided they were going to address that issue, and at pick number 34, they took the big cock, Ryan Kalkbrenner, which sounds funnier if you say it with an American accent, because I would just say Kalkbrenner, but it doesn't sound as funny. Ryan Kalkbrenner is an enormous man. He's like 7'2". He's an older player, 23 years of age, which I don't love. I don't love that sort of guy. That's why in dynasty formats with my dynasty rankings, I have Kalkbrenner down. I think he's going to be one of the more impactful players year 1 or 2 out of this class, and that'll fade, right? But he averaged 20 and 9 per 36 with almost 3 blocks on 65% shooting with an inkling of shooting. Don't think he's going to be a great shooter, but an inkling of shooting. At the moment, the competition is Moussa Diabate. Now, Diabate had moments last season of being okay, but what is he? He's a rebound guy who steals the ball okay. Kalkbrenner's got way more rim protection, shooting ability. I think he's got the ability to be, honestly, a starter this upcoming season. Don't know if it'll be opening night, but you can get some really short-term value out of Kalkbrenner especially, and then we'll see where it goes long-term. So, to me, these are all absolute W picks, fantasy translatable for Knueppel especially, and for Kalkbrenner, and they probably will be draftable guys. But having this, it doesn't mean that it's always going to be great long-term, but I just think that these are just smart picks from Charlotte, and that has never been the thing that we've always said. Yes, new front office, new ownership, and it's off to a pretty good start. Jamiah Neal is the other guy they brought in for their Summer League team. Not really sure he's going to impact much. Did I mention I gave them an A-? If I didn't, I apologize. I gave them an A-. We've got three more teams to talk about: Miami, Orlando, and Washington. We'll come back with them. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing. And it might be baseball that you're watching. You might be getting some high-stakes soccer. You might be watching golf. You might be watching NASCAR, the WNBA. It is all there. And FanDuel is the best way for you to get in on that action. You're already out there following that action anyway. So why don't you just open up the FanDuel app? Or if you haven't signed up, you can go and sign up and take a look at all the options that are there. There's new promos every day. There's so many different types of bets that you can have. You've got the straight money line bets. You've got the spreads, the totals, the player props. Same game parlays, futures, all of that stuff is over at FanDuel. With those new daily promotions, you're going to want to open up every day and just see what sort of stuff is on offer. And if you are new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. So open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Okay, so like I've said, we are here talking about the Southeast Division in the NBA. We've talked about Atlanta. We've talked about Charlotte. So now we talk about everybody's favorite team, just brimming with culture. They always make the right moves. Everyone wants to be them, the Miami Heat, as they flounder their way through another offseason, which at this point of me recording, they've done nothing, and that's okay. Are they going to be good? Probably not. Are they going to threaten to make a move for a big player? Probably. Will it come off? Almost definitely not. Have they lost some of their fastball? 100% yes. We will see. That doesn't mean they're bad. They'll probably still make the playoffs. Although, where were they last season? Like in the play-in, and I think that could be the thing again. It is very easy to do. It is very easy to do this, and I just had a discussion with someone today on Twitter about this, not calling this guy out, and of course I'm recording this on the day, but you're seeing it a week later. Talking about, man, Miami, great, we got this top 10 guy at pick 20, right? And that's Kasparas Jakucionis, of course, that we're talking about. We have seen many examples of this in the past. Can't believe the Lakers got a top 5 pick at pick 17, Dalton Connect. Man, what a steal, Jaime Jaquez, top 5 redraft guy. No, like absolutely not. Now, some people had Jakucionis as a top 10 guy. That is true. I did not. I had him about 17. So to me, this is about the right spot. You might think that Jakucionis is a top 10 player. That's okay. He might be. I don't. But it's not like this absolute steal, theft, win, I can't believe no one else saw it situation. I like the Jakucionis pick. I give Miami overall a B. I think it's solid, right? I think it's a solid pick. Their point guard depth is Davion Mitchell and Tyler Hero, who's not really a point guard. Totally fine. I could easily see Jakucionis being a starter, maybe not this season, but the year after. We know what they do. They cycle in Rozier and Duncan Robinson, and Mitchell play starters minutes, and Jakucionis is going to be horrific at turnovers and have really, really bad shooting and defense, I think, immediately. And it's going to be hard to play him. I think the passing is good. I think there is shooting upside. I think his size is important. There's a lot that I do like about Jakucionis. I didn't have him as the best point guard in this draft, obviously, because there were other players that went ahead of him. But even like in the Demon, Trey Fears sort of range, he wasn't a standout in that group. He's fine. He can be a starter. I think he will be a starter at some point, maybe. But it does not always work out that way, Shabazz Napier. It doesn't always get to that spot. Jakucionis averaged, 1 steal and 5.3 assists per 36 minutes? They're not super strong. The rebounds are good. The three-point volume is okay. The percentages are not. I love that he hit his free throws. That's strong, and that translates to good shooting. But let's, again, be very real about what he is. He's a guy that might be a starter and might not be. He's got good passing instincts with a lot of inconsistency in his game. Again, totally fine. Totally reasonable pick. Would have probably made the pick myself there. I like it. But I don't think that it's just unbelievable thievery to have been able to get him at that position. I love what they did with their two-way, and that's basically something that happens all the time with this team. Getting Vlad Golden on that two-way deal, big man from Michigan, really, really good. I enjoy what Golden did. I thought that he was one of those guys that could have been drafted. They get him on the two-way, and that happens so often with these two-way players. Golden is, 7'1". He's older. He's 24 years of age. He played overseas and then came across to play for Michigan this last season. Played 28 minutes a night and averaged 17 and 7 with 1.4 blocks. He shot the 3 ball a little bit, not a huge amount, but he did shoot a little bit there from deep. 1 attempt per game. That's obviously not very much. He is a solid rebounding big man who ends up as a depth piece, and we'll see where they go. Obviously, they've got Ware, they've got Adebayo. We'll see what else they do in free agency. Solid pick. Steve Settle, not someone that I had on my big board, but he's an Exhibit 10 guy, shooter, totally fine. And then Bryson Warren and Dane Danger. There's no way that's a real one. Danger. Anyway, on their summer league, they don't really have an impact overall on their draft grade, but a B for Miami feels about right, because I gave it. Good for them. Let's go to Orlando. Because they made a pick that I loved, and that's Jase Richardson. But remember, I loved Jase Richardson at this point. I thought Jase Richardson was a top 10 player. But when I'm giving out these draft grades, I use specific things in terms of, I'm not just going to tell you that my evaluation is infallible. That's not what I do. You see my big boards, you see my mock drafts, you see how I value players. But when I do things like dynasty rankings and draft grades, I'm not just going to sit here and go, I know everything. No one else knows a single thing. There's a lot that's taken into it. Other people's opinions are important as well. And that's how I grade this stuff. So I give Orlando a B as well. I love the Jase Richardson pick. I think it's one of the better picks out there. I think that Jase Richardson's a top 10 guy. I think he can become a point guard. I think he's a good shooter. I think he's a smart player. He knows how to play. He's got good feel. He, to me, is the guy in this class where you go, how did people pass on him? Oh, it was his size. And he ends up being a really useful NBA player. Or it just might not work out at all. I love that they got Jase at pick number 25. Yeah, it's great that his dad played for Orlando as well. His shooting is strong. Some of those quotes from that anonymous college assistant coach saying that he's going to play all year in the G League because he doesn't know how to play is crazy to me, when he seems one of the more feel-based and knows how to play guys. He's not getting by on strictly athleticism or anything like that. He puts up his numbers because he knows how to play. He averaged 17, 5, and 3 with 1.2 steals per 36, and he shot 41 from 3 and almost 50% overall from the field as a 6'1 point guard. Freshman. Like that, they are crazy numbers. And yeah, he is small. He is long, but he is small. Richardson is not going to start. There's Bane and Suggs. He'll be on the bench battling against Mr. Black in terms of getting rotation minutes. And of course, the GOAT, Corey Joseph. Long term, I think that he can work with Suggs, but we also know that Suggs and his health is a question mark. And often when we're talking dynasty or even talking drafts, there's no guarantee that Suggs stays on the team or that Bane is here or that Richardson remains in Orlando. He could be on a different team. I just like the value of the pick. I think he's a smart player, and having a guy that can play 29 minutes as a sixth man in 3 years' time would be awesome. So I love it. Noah Pender at pick 32, I also think is a really good pick. I like Noah Pender. He was in the mix in the first round for me, and obviously when you go up pick 32, of course, that means you're in the mix in the first round. Pender's someone that his name was in the draft pool last season. Not that he's old, he's 20. 18 usage playing for Le Mans. He averaged 14 and 7 with 3.6 assists per 36. Obviously, French league, different sort of story. I love the steal numbers. Look at the block numbers. 27 minutes a night, shot 35% from 3. I'm a little iffy on the shooting, but he feels a little bit like one of those, hey, I'm a French wing who can do it all, but my shooting might be iffy. I would love this sort of a player to turn into a Nick Batum. He's 6'7". He had a PR of 17 over in France. He's got good size. He could do a lot of different things. He's not going to be asked to do huge amounts immediately behind Franz and behind Paolo, but their other depth there is Tristan Da Silva, right? And he is decidedly not good to me. And Pender is by far the better prospect than Da Silva and can do a lot more. Now, Da Silva allegedly is the better shooter, and I think he probably will be. But to me, getting Pender at 32, making that move, I like it. He fits the Magic ethos as well. I would like a little bit more reliability from his shooting, but can handle the ball, defend, fits what they want. I think it's a really strong pick. There are other picks, or there are other guys they grabbed. No two ways announced yet, but Nate Santos on an Exhibit 10, Zach Fremantle and John L. Davis onto their Summer League team are fine, and that's a B draft haul. So I think that Miami did well, Atlanta did well. I think all of these teams have done really well in the Southeast Division. No real questions with any of this stuff. I think it's all been very strong, really good stuff in terms of just the overall process for these teams, these four we've talked about in the draft so far. Now, all that sounds like I was setting up to tell you how much I didn't like the other team in this division, the Washington Wizards. All four teams have done so well. Oh, they've been great. And now we move on to the fifth. I think the Wizards were good as well. They got a B- to me, so it's slightly down. And there's one real reason for that. I love getting Tre Johnson at pick 6. I loved it. I think Tre Johnson can be, it's either him or Knueppel, as the best shooter with volume in this draft class. I really like them drafting Tre Johnson at pick number 6. I think it makes a lot of sense. Jordan Poole's not there anymore. You've got Bub Carrington. Tre Johnson and Bub Carrington, I think, work together totally fine. Johnson's the guy you want having the larger usage. He has the ball in his hands more as a lead guard, not a point guard. He's not a passer. He works off ball very well. That to me is a huge W as well. Look, in the short term, I don't love it. Just because in terms of, we're talking redraft leagues for fantasy, they are going to play Chris Middleton. They are going to play CJ McCollum. They are going to play Marcus Smart. Now, you can debate whether they should or not, but they will. They will immediately, initially, without question. Eventually, that won't be the case. And Johnson will be getting 32, 33 minutes a night at the end of the year. You got some other guys on this team, like Keyshawn George, like AJ Johnson, Justin Champagny on this squad as well, that might get minutes, but these are nothing in comparison to what Johnson can potentially provide. Elite shooting, high volume, good scoring, high usage at Texas. Defensively, he looked incredibly bad. That's okay. I think that he'll be able to be better than that. His size is pretty good. This level of shooting is strong. The worry that you have with him is like this sort of empty profile, empty shell shooting guard doesn't translate to good value in the NBA. Like Jordan Poole, for example, people would say that he is that. Jordan Poole can pass. Jordan Poole can play point guard. I don't think this guy can. So that's where, maybe he develops into that. I didn't think Anthony Edwards could run lead guard the way that he has, and he has. So we'll see where Johnson goes. I like the pick. I think in redraft, it's going to be pretty rough early on with bad shooting, bad peripherals, and iffy minutes at times. But long term, I love it. What I don't like about this class, and yes, the value of taking Tre Johnson at 6 is way more important than I think the disaster of taking Will Riley at 21. But it's still got to be a part of it. They traded back with Utah, which I think was a really good deal. Traded Walter Clayton away, got all those seconds back. I think that's a really good deal. I just wouldn't have taken Will Riley. If when I talk about guys that are empty, he not only is he a guy that's empty as a player, as a shooting guard, but he doesn't even do that part well. And that's just someone I just don't like as a player. He's young and he's incredibly big. He's very tall. He's like 6'9" as a shooting guard, small forward. Great. He shot 33% on his threes. He hit 72% from the line. These are all horrific numbers. He has one of the worst steal percentages you will ever see. 0.4 steals per 36 is dreadful. And it is incredibly rare to see any player in the NBA draft have success with a steal rate that low. Not even defensive. I'm just talking as a general rule. It is embarrassingly bad. He doesn't pass. He's not a strong rebounder. The volume of threes isn't great. The appeal is like he's 6'9". He should be able to shoot, but he didn't. I had him in the 50s. This is one I just could be massively wrong on. I hate it. I think he's going to be horrifically bad this season, and honestly think he's going to be bad most of it. I don't want him to be. I want these guys to all be good. But I do not see it with Will Riley. Even the fantasy profile is very clearly not there with him either. And not that that's what we're talking about here, but not someone I'd be investing in whatsoever. The size is interesting. I just think that you're going to have something else to go with it. Jameer Watkins, pick number 43. He is... it's a fine pick. I don't really hate it. He's older. He's 24. He's a average, 21 and a half and 3 assists per 36 minutes, which is fine. He's at 1.4 steals per 36, which is fine. He's like a defensive wing, but he is old. He is 24 years of age. I would much rather Keyshawn George and Bub Carrington get minutes, and I think that'll be the case. There's not anything particularly impressive about what Watkins' profile looks like. He doesn't shoot the 3-ball well. He's like a pretty good rebounder, but he's not a passer. He gets to the line okay, but you'd want him to do that at age 24. He's fine. I love them picking Kadari Richmond signing him to an Exhibit 10. I would have liked if they committed him to being a two-way guy, but not at this point. Richmond's an interesting player. I am intrigued to see what he can do. He's a little bit older. He's 23, 6'6" shooting guard. Richmond shot, let me double check his numbers. I wouldn't look at those 3-point shooting numbers. 18% from 3 and 27% from 3 the year after that. But just a strong assist guy, a point guard. That the shooting is a problem. But he's one of these. He's tall. He's a 6'6" sort of shooting guard, but he's more of a point guard, honestly, with good assist numbers but horrific shooting. I hope that can develop. I'd like to see them develop him, but in all likelihood, it probably doesn't. The other guy on their Exhibit 10 is Keyshawn Gilbert, who's probably not going to have an impact really anywhere. And that's the Washington Wizards. So overall, yes, they had some high picks, the Southeast Division, but I've hardly got anything that I can criticize the teams in this Division 4. I love what Charlotte did. I love what Atlanta did. I like what Miami did. I like what Orlando did. And I like what Washington did. All of them, really good. I think there's hard to get too critical of those teams. Pretty smart stuff from all of those guys involved. Kudos. Now we'll see what they do in free agency, in trades, and the offseason in general. This doesn't mean they're going to be good. I just think that they had really, really strong drafts. Nothing too controversial there. Don't forget, subscribe to the show, guys. More of these coming. This is pre-recorded, as you're aware. We are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.